This is the story of a man who had everything and lost most of it. This is the story of a man who received many gifts and betrayed the giver. This is the story of a man who turned wisdom into foolishness. These are the seasons of Solomon. Spring, summer, fall, winter, childhood, youth, adulthood, senescence. Three books of the Bible are attributed to Solomon and reflect his state of mind at that particular stage in his life. The Song of Solomon in his passionate youth, Proverbs in his sagacious maturity, and Ecclesiastes at the end of his life, when he had seen it all and was at the brink of despair. And so we begin. King David was Solomon's father. Bathsheba was Solomon's mother. Before Solomon was born, there was an older brother who had died before he could be circumcised on the 8th day from birth. This was a punishment for King David's sin of adultery and murder. King David had stolen Bathsheba from her husband and had caused Uriah, the husband, to be killed in the battlefield. King David then married the widowed Bathsheba. They had 4 sons, Solomon, Shammua, Shobab, and Nathan. David had other sons from his wives and concubines in Jerusalem. David was middle-aged when he sired Solomon. His kingdom then was at peace and enjoyed prosperity. David consoled his wife Bathsheba and went to her and lay with her, and she bore a son, and he named him Solomon. The Lord loved him and sent a message by the prophet Nathan, so he named him Jedediah because of the Lord. King David was old and advanced in years, and although they covered him with clothes, he could not get warm. So they searched for a beautiful girl throughout all the territory of Israel and found Abishag the Shunammite and brought her to the king. The girl was very beautiful. She became the king's attendant and served him, but the king did not know her sexually. Was Abishag Solomon's first love? Bathsheba went to the king in his room. The king was very old. Abishag the Shunammite was attending the king. Bathsheba bowed and did obeisance to the king. And the king said, "What do you wish?" She said to him, "My lord, you swore to your servant by the Lord your God, saying, 'Your son Solomon shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit on my throne.' But now suddenly Adonijah has become king, though you, my lord the king, do not know it. But you, my lord the king, the eyes of all Israel on you, to tell them who shall sit on the throne of my lord the king after him." The king swore, saying, "As the Lord lives, who has saved my life from every adversity, as I swore to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, your son Solomon shall succeed me as king, and he shall sit on my throne in my place. So will I do this day. Then Bathsheba bowed with her face to the ground and did obeisance to the king and said, May my Lord, King David, live forever. The king's servants came to congratulate King David, saying, May God make the name of Solomon more famous than yours, and make his throne greater than your throne. The king bowed in worship on the bed and went on to pray thus. Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who today has granted one of my offspring to sit on my throne and permitted me to witness it. Solomon was informed. Adonijah is afraid of King Solomon. See, he has laid hold of the horns of the altar, saying, Let King Solomon swear to me first that he will not kill his servant with a sword. So Solomon responded, If he proves to be a worthy man, not one of his hairs shall fall to the ground. But if wickedness is found in him, he shall die. Then King Solomon sent to have him brought down from the altar. He came to do obeisance to King Solomon, and Solomon said to him, Go home. Adonijah went to Bathsheba, Solomon's mother. He said, Please ask King Solomon, he will not refuse you, to give me Abishag the Shunammite as my wife. So Bathsheba went to King Solomon to speak to him on behalf of Adonijah. The king rose to meet her and bowed down to her. Then he sat on his throne and had a throne brought for the king's mother, and she sat on his right. The king said to her, Make your request, my mother, for I will not refuse you. She said, Let Abishag the Shunammite be given to your brother Adonijah as his wife. King Solomon answered his mother, And why do you ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah? Ask for him the kingdom as well. Then King Solomon swore by the Lord, So may God do to me and more also, for Adonijah has devised this scheme at the risk of his life. Today, Adonijah shall be put to death. So King Solomon sent Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. He struck him down, and he died. Song of Solomon. Why should you look upon the Shulamite as upon a dance before two armies? Return, return, O Shulamite. Return, return, that we may look upon you. I am black and beautiful, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not gaze at me because I am dark, because the sun has gazed on me. My beloved is like a gazelle or a young stag. Look, there he stands behind our wall, gazing in at windows, looking through the lattice. My beloved speaks and says to me, Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. Upon my bed at night I sought him, whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I called him, but he gave no answer. I will rise now and go about the city, in the streets and in the squares. I will seek him, whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. As a lily among brambles, so is my love among maidens. As an apple tree among the trees of the wood, so is my beloved among young men. With great delight I sat in his shadow, and his fruit was sweet to my taste. There are 60 queens and 80 concubines, and maidens without number. My dove, my perfect one, is the only one, the darling of her mother, flawless to her that bore her. The maidens saw her and called her happy, the queens and concubines also, and they praised her. Who is this that looks forth like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, terrible as an army with banners? Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is strong as death, passion fierce as the grave. Its flashes are flashes of fire, a raging flame. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. I adjure you, O daughters of Jerusalem, by the gazelles or the wild does, do not stir up or awaken love until it is ready. The king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the principal high place. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, ask what I should give you. And Solomon said, you have shown great and steadfast love to your servant my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness, in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart towards you. And you have kept for him this great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on his throne today. And now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, although I am only a little child. I do not know how to go out or come in. And your servant is in the midst of the people whom you have chosen, a great people, so numerous they cannot be numbered or counted. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, able to discern between good and evil. For who can govern this your great people? It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. God said to him, because you have asked this and have not asked for yourself long life or riches, or for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right, I now do according to your word. Indeed, I give you a wise and discerning mind. No one like you has been before you, and no one like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honor all your life. No other king shall compare with you. If you walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments, as your father walked, then I will lengthen your life. During Solomon's lifetime, Judah and Israel lived in safety, from Dan even to Beersheba, all of them under their vines and fig trees. Solomon also had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots and 12,000 horsemen. Solomon sent word to King Hiram of Tyre, saying, the Lord said to my father David, your son, whom I will set on your throne in your place shall build the house for my name. Therefore, command that cedars from the Lebanon be cut for me. My servants will join your servants, and I will give you whatever wages you set for your servants. For you know that there is no one among us who knows how to cut timber like the Sidonians. In the 480th year after the Israelites came out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziv, which is the 2nd month, he began to build the house of the Lord. In the 11th year, in the month of Bul, which is the 8th month, the house was finished in all its parts and according to all its specifications. He was 7 years in building it. All the elders of Israel came, and the priests carried the ark. They brought up the ark of the Lord, the tent of meeting, and all the holy vessels that were in the tent. King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel, who had assembled before him, were with him before the ark. Then the priests brought the ark to its place in the inner sanctuary of the house, in the most holy place underneath the wings of the cherubim. And when the priests came out of the holy place, a cloud filled the house of the Lord, so that the priests could not stand to minister because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the house of the Lord. Then Solomon stood before the altar of the Lord in the presence of all the assembly of Israel and spread out his hands to heaven. He said, "Have regard to your servant's prayer and his plea, O Lord my God, heeding the cry and the prayer that your servant prays to you today, that your eyes may be open night and day towards this house, the place of which you said, my name shall be there, that you may heed the prayer that your servant prays towards this place. Hear the plea of your servant and of your people Israel when they pray towards this place. O hear in heaven your dwelling place, heed and forgive." Solomon made a marriage alliance with Pharaoh, king of Egypt. He took Pharaoh's daughter and brought her into the city of David until he had finished building his own house and the house of the Lord and the wall around Jerusalem. Solomon brought Pharaoh's daughter from the city of David to the house that he had built for her. For he said, "My wife shall not live in the house of King David of Israel, for the places to which the ark of the Lord has come are holy." People came from all the nations to hear the wisdom of Solomon. They came from all the kings of the earth who had heard of his wisdom. Solomon composed 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. He would speak of trees, from the cedar that is in the Lebanon to the hyssop that grows in the wall. He would speak of animals and birds and reptiles and fish. Proverbs. When the ways of people please the Lord, he causes even their enemies to be at peace with them. The human mind plans the way, but the Lord directs the steps. The Lord by wisdom founded the earth. By understanding, he established the heavens. By his knowledge, the deeps broke open, and the clouds dropped down the dew. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is insight. My child, do not despise the Lord's discipline or be weary of his reproof. For the Lord reproves the one he loves, as a father the son, in whom he delights. Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but those who hate to be rebuked are stupid. Do not withhold good from those whom it is due, when it is in your power to do it. Do not say to your neighbor, "Go and come again. Tomorrow I will give it," when you have it with you. Some pretend to be rich, yet have nothing. Others pretend to be poor, yet have great wealth. The rich and the poor have this in common: the Lord is the maker of them all. Go to the ant, you lazy bones. Consider its ways and be wise. Without having any chief or officer or ruler, it prepares its food in summer and gathers its sustenance in harvest. How long will you lie there, O lazy bones? When will you rise from your sleep? Sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed warrior. Can fire be carried in the bosom without burning one's clothes? Or can one walk on hot coals without scorching the feet? So is he who sleeps with his neighbor's wife. No one who touches her will go unpunished. Let your foot be seldom in your neighbor's house. Otherwise, the neighbor will become weary of you and hate you. There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that hurry to run to evil, a lying witness who testifies falsely, and one who sows discord in a family. Like a gold ring in a pig's snout is a beautiful woman without good sense. Fools think their own way is right, but the wise listen to advice. Fools show their anger at once, but the prudent ignore an insult. One who is clever conceals knowledge, but the mind of a fool broadcasts folly. Those who spare the rod hate their children, but those who love them are diligent to discipline them. A rebuke strikes deeper into a discerning person than 100 blows into a fool. Better is a dinner of vegetables where love is, than a fatted ox and hatred with it. Better is a dry morsel with quiet than a house full of feasting with strife. Thus says the man, "I am weary, O God, I am weary, O God. How can I prevail? Surely I am too stupid to be human. I do not have human understanding. I have not learned wisdom, nor have I knowledge of the holy ones. 2 things I ask of you. Do not deny them before I die. Remove far from me falsehood and lying. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food that I need, or I shall be full and deny you, and say, 'Who is the Lord?' Or I shall be poor and steal, and profane the name of my God." Flashback. When Solomon had finished building the house of the Lord appeared to Solomon a second time, as he had appeared to him at Gibeon. I have heard your prayer and your plea, which you made before me. I have consecrated this house that you have built and put my name there forever. As for you, if you will walk before me with integrity of heart and uprightness, keeping my statutes and ordinances, then I will establish your royal throne over Israel forever, as I promised your father, David. If you turn aside from following me, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then I will cut Israel off from the land that I have given them. When Solomon was old, his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not true to the Lord, his God, as was the heart of his father, David. King Solomon loved many foreign women, along with the daughter of Pharaoh, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women, from nations concerning which the Lord had said to the Israelites, "You shall not enter into marriage with them, neither shall they with you, for they will surely incline your heart to follow their gods." Solomon clung to these in love. Among his wives were 700 princesses and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. Solomon followed Astarte, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and for Molech, the abomination of Ammonites, on the mountain east of Jerusalem. He did the same for all his foreign wives, who offered incense and sacrificed to their gods. Then the Lord was angry with Solomon. "Since you have not kept my covenant and my statutes which I have commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom from you and give it to your servant. Yet, for the sake of your father David, I will not do it in your lifetime. I will tear it out of the hand of your son. I will not, however, tear away the entire kingdom. I will give one tribe to your son for the sake of my servant David and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen." Then the Lord raised up adversary against Solomon: Hadad the Edomite, Rezon from Aram, Jeroboam son of Nebat, a servant of Solomon. When Jeroboam was leaving Jerusalem, the prophet Ahijah found him on the road. Ahijah had clothed himself with a new garment. The two of them were alone in the open country when Ahijah tore the garment into 12 pieces. He then said to Jeroboam, "Take for yourself 10 pieces, for thus says the Lord God of Israel, see, I am about to tear the kingdom from the hand of Solomon, and will give you 10 tribes. One tribe will remain his for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, the city I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel." Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam promptly fled to Egypt, to King Shishak of Egypt, and remained in Egypt until the death of Solomon. The time that Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years. Solomon slept with his ancestors and was buried in the city of his father David. and his son, Rehoboam, succeeded him. I, when king over Israel in Jerusalem, applied my mind to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to human beings to be busy with. I saw all the deeds that are done under the sun, and see, all is vanity and a chasing after the wind. Vanity of vanities, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What do people gain from all the toil at which they toil under the sun? A generation goes, and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. All things are wearisome, more than one can express. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, or the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I bought male and female slaves, and had slaves who were born in my house. I also had great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold, and the treasure of kings and of the provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and delights of the flesh, and many concubines. So I became great, and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also, my wisdom remained with me. And again, all was vanity and a chasing after the wind. I hated all my toil, in which I had toiled under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to those who come after me, and who knows whether they will be wise or foolish. So I turned and gave my heart up to despair concerning all the toil of my labors under the sun. What do mortals get from all the toil and strain with which they toil under the sun? For all their days are full of pain, and their work is a vexation. Even at night their minds do not rest. This also is vanity. I turned to consider wisdom and madness and folly. Then I saw that wisdom excels folly, as light excels darkness. Yet I perceived that the same fate befalls all of them. Then I said to myself, what happens to the fool will happen to me also. Why then have I been so very wise? And I said to myself that this also is vanity. How can the wise die just like fools? So I hated life because what is done under the sun was grievous to me. For all is vanity and a chasing after the wind. I said to myself, come now, I will make a test of pleasure. Enjoy yourself. But again, this also was vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad. And of pleasure, what use is it? I searched with my mind how to cheer my body with wine, my mind still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly, until I might see what was good for mortals to do under heaven during the few days of their life. There is nothing for mortals to do than to eat and drink and find enjoyment in their toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. For apart from him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? For to the one who pleases him, God gives wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner, he gives the work of gathering and heaping, only to give to one who pleases God. This also is vanity and a chasing after the wind. I said in my heart with regard to the human beings that God is testing them to show that they are but animals. For the fate of humans and the fate of animals is the same. As one dies, so does the other. They all have the same breath, and humans have no advantage over the animals, for all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and all turn to dust again. Who knows whether the human spirit goes upwards and the spirit of animals goes downwards to the earth? I said, I will be wise, but it was far from me. That which is far off, and deep, very deep. Who can find it out? I turned my mind to know and to search out and to seek wisdom and the sum of things, and to know that wickedness is folly and that foolishness is madness. I found more bitter than death the woman who is a trap, whose heart is snares and nets, whose hands are fetters. One who pleases God escapes her, but the sinner is taken by her. This alone I found, that God made human beings straightforward, but they have devised many schemes. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one single bungler destroys much good. Better is a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who will no longer take advice. There was a little city with few people in it. Now, there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city. Yet no one remembered that poor man. So I said, wisdom is better than might, yet the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heeded. Better is the end of a thing than its beginning. The patient in spirit are better than the proud in spirit. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come, and the years draw near when you will say, I have no pleasure in them, and desire fails. Because all will go to their eternal home, and the mourners will go about the streets, and the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the breath returns to God who gave it. Vanity of vanities, says the teacher. All is vanity. For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to throw away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak, a time to love, and a time to hate, a time for war, and a time for peace. Unless one walks with God, all is vanity.